Focusing on matters of women in business. We all know access to capital is one of the major hurdles that has curtailed women's, inclusion and further inclusion in the value chain as far as business and economic development is concerned. So to put this into perspective, I have two ladies with me in studio. I have Dr. Agnes Meroka, who is a senior lecturer, School of Law, the University of Nairobi, accompanied by Mary Wambui-Kenyi, who is into matters of research to just let us know what we can do then to change this perspective. Good morning, ladies, and thank you for your time. Karibuni sana. Now, starting off with that issue, matters of, capital, access to capital for women. From where you sit, Dr. Agnes Meroka, tell us how far back or what the impact in it. We say women are very enterprising. That's why we have the term wanjiko, even when you're talking about matters of economics. But now issues of capital and MSMEs, especially women. How do we address this?
Thank you for that question, and thank you for having us. Of late, we have been seeing a number of initiatives set up by the government of Kenya to enable women to access capital. And one of them that we are very excited about and we are researching on is the Credit Guarantee Scheme that has recently been rolled out to enable MSMEs to access capital in order to recover from the COVID pandemic. What we know also is that women's businesses were disproportionately affected as a result of the COVID pandemic, and therefore we're excited to see these kinds of initiatives that are targeting specifically MSMEs, and we hope to see more women being able to access these types of schemes.
Now, before we get to the details, I'd also want to, just rope in my other guest this morning. That is none other than Madam Wambui-Kenyi. What's in your take? What would you say, or rather, what is your take in regard to the issue of access to capital for women in business, especially with the MSMEs?
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. I think the issue of women's access to capital have been a major issue, and particularly for us at the African Women's Studies Center, because what we know traditionally, women don't own property. They only have, if anything, access rights. And what that means is that when a woman wants to establish a business, she cannot get a loan from the bank because she doesn't have collateral, she doesn't own the productive resources, and so it has been a major issue for women accessing capital. And that is why under one of our programs at the African Women's Studies Center, which is the Women Economic Empowerment, and these are some of the issues that we wanted to address to see how women can be able to access resources despite the challenges that the women in this country has.
Very well said. Now that's said and done, issues of how different is a credit guarantee scheme, because we have seen over the years governments, not just this, rolling out initiative to support women and youth, to just empower them. But now how different is the credit guarantee scheme?
The credit guarantee scheme actually may be viewed as an affirmative action fund, because what it does is to provide a sort of an insurance that enables businesses to actually borrow money through we now have 7 lenders who've been approved to roll out the scheme. And what it is it allows actually borrowers to approach these institutions. There are 7 of them. I think ABSA is one, KCB is one. So it is the mainstream banks that borrowers would be going to, and the rate would actually be a 1-digit %. So the lending rate is actually very favorable. It is low. And it is an insurance that gives lenders the confidence to actually loan out money, knowing that in case of any default, that government will step in to fill that gap. So it actually boosts confidence. But on the other hand, there's also a push to ensure that borrowers are actually meeting the criteria to access the scheme. So they need to be on top of their tax obligations, and you know, their businesses have to be registered you know, properly, and not having defaulted, you know, have a good credit record. So for us at the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub at the University of Nairobi, what we are trying to do is to empower women to be able to access that scheme, because I think, as my colleague Wamboi has said, women traditionally have not fit that criteria. They have not been at that level where, you know, they have a good credit record, that they are paying their taxes on time, and therefore that might limit them from actually accessing the scheme. What we are trying to do is therefore to empower them so that they benefit, because the terms are actually very favorable. It is a 1-digit lending rate, so it is below the market rate, but then they access them through the, you know, the mainstream, yes, the commercial banks.
But you said about meeting the criterion. What about those who want to, women, someone who has a bankable idea? They've never been in business before, but they have a viable idea. Do they stand to benefit from the credit guarantee scheme as first-timers?
If their businesses are registered and they actually fit the criteria, then they probably can access. But as we said, this is a scheme that is aiming to help businesses improve, get out of the COVID. You know, it's a you know.
So it's not for startups. It targets people who have already have established themselves.
Well, let's not say that they're completely locked out. They can actually demonstrate that they meet the criteria, that, you know, they have been paying their taxes, that they have this business idea, and therefore they can make a case for accessing the capital. Let's not completely say that they are locked out, because there's a criteria that the institutions will go through to actually see whether they meet that.
So what is the value of the credit guarantee scheme at this point? Do you have the figures?
Yes, we do. We have, it is at 3 billion Kenya shillings, and it has already started being rolled out. And we actually have until 2022, so it's not, it's actually a temporary scheme. So if you see the amount of money vis-a-vis the time during which it will be rolled out, you see that there's going to be quite a lot of benefit, because that amount of money is to be rolled out within the 2-year period until 2022.
Now, Madam Wamboi, from where you sit in as far as research is concerned, with this rollout of this credit guarantee scheme, what would be the likely, you know, impact, other than just, we know it's temporary after COVID, post-COVID, what impact will it have post-COVID for women in business?
I think it is very important in the sense that during this COVID period, particularly women have suffered a lot economically, in the sense that most of the businesses which have even maybe completely come to a standstill are those which are run by women. Women are mostly involved in the service industries, and as we said earlier, in the informal sector. And these are the areas that have been most affected. So if the credit guarantee scheme is going to enable these women to access resources, even to jumpstart their businesses, that will be important even in post-COVID, in the sense that their businesses will have come back. And so they would be able to run their businesses as they did before the COVID. And so that is why we think that the CGS, that is the credit guarantee scheme, is important for women's businesses. Yes.
Now, Daktari, shed more light on the function that you're going to be having today at the UN and what it, you know, the objective of this particular event.
Yes, thank you. Today at the University of Nairobi, we are actually hosting representatives from Absa Bank, which is one of the institutions that is rolling out the CGS, and they will be speaking to women entrepreneurs, providing information about access to the CGS, and therefore making it more accessible. And that is what we are trying to do at the University of Nairobi, is to bring women to a space where they can actually have these types of conversations with the lenders, so that information is power. So today is going to be a first meeting where we bring women entrepreneurs, and we link them with one of the financial institutions that is rolling out the CGS. And we have a conversation about CGS. It's going to be an online meeting, and we are very excited about that, and to be bringing the information closer to the women and to have them empowered.
Mm-hmm. Now, I laud you for having set up that particular event, because the issue of awareness of the initiatives that are out here set to benefit, that certain demographic, women and youth. What is your take in regard to that? Have we done enough to sensitize, public that we have this initiative out here and it targets women to this end?
There's work that has been done to sensitize them, but more needs to be done. Mm-hmm. Remember, we are talking about women mashinani, and we are also talking about during the COVID pandemic and the third wave, and therefore there are constraints as to how far we could go. Traditionally, how you will do it is to go to the women in the grassroots, the market centers and such other places where you'd find them, and actually provide this information in a very accessible format. But now we are having a situation where that is not easily happening, and we are going to digital and online spaces. So more needs to be done to create awareness. We need to start seeing perhaps advertisements, for example, about what the CGS is. In media such as where we are today, the KBC. And we roll out this information. So initiatives have started, but certainly we could do more, and that could be upped up. Yes.
Madam Momboi, what is your take in regard to this issue, the issue of just creating an awareness around these initiatives?
Yeah, I think as the Women Economic Empowerment Hub at the University of Nairobi, we realize the power of women passing on the knowledge to other women, and for that reason we are working with the women's organizations, particularly one of our main partners, Crown Trust, has a network called the National Women's Committee. And what this committee does, it is comprised of women's organizations, and it is because we know that the women's organizations is one of the instruments that can pass on this message to women at the grassroots. And so we are hoping that by working with the women's organizations as part of our partners, that the women at the grassroots can also get this information and also apply and benefit from it. And actually we are also pursuing, I think we have not yet achieved this, to see if the banks can also brand the CGS so that women can specifically go for this credit guarantee. So that they can benefit their businesses. So by working with the National Women's Steering Committee, which reaches many women at the grassroots, and also working with the women entrepreneurs, we are sure that the information is going to reach to many women at the grassroots. Yeah.
Now, Daktari, when we're starting off, you said that, this is to help those who are already in the business value chain, basically MSMEs, that's the target, weather the storm of COVID-19 disruptions. Whenever we hear credit from a commercial bank, everybody gets jitters. So the question is, what are the repayment terms? Is it going to go beyond the 2-year period where this is going to be active, or Is there a way, I mean, how far does it go? How long would I be paying for this credit? You've said it's single-digit interest, but we want to know what that single digit would be. Because if you say 9 and we're doing around 13, 14, thereabout, we need the details.
So how it is currently working is that the lenders, actually the financial institutions, are developing their in-house policies as to how they will do them. It will vary from institution to institution, but what we are doing at the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub is to really emphasize that the terms need to be gender-friendly. So I think the financial institutions will have varying terms, and we can't give a blanket and say that you know, all of you have to have paid within this period. But the way in which it is designed is a scheme that is actually very friendly to the MSMEs and taking into account the unique circumstances of the COVID pandemic. So therefore, it is going to be one that supports, not one that you know comes after you and says that you defaulted and we gave you this time, and it is very strict.
The paper, you know, repossession of goods and such, because it's clearly not a good time. Is there? Is it just closed off to commercial banks, top-tier commercial banks? Because when you mention ABSA and KCB, sorry, those are top-tier banks. Are we having micro lenders also in this program? Because we know Wanjiko, banks at, you know, microfinance level and the savings and credit that do FOSA. So is it also open to this facilities?
Yeah. So again, it is phased out. Therefore, what we are seeing is a situation where we have started with the mainstream banks, the mainstream commercial banks. But that is not fully closed off, and there are discussions in even with the ministry, the National Treasury, of bringing in other financial institutions. And actually we have been concerned about it because, as you rightly point out, women's, if you look at their, you know, their financial habits, borrowing habits, they will not be going to the mainstream banks. You will find them in the microfinance institutions. You will, you know, now with even mobile banking and so on. So it is not fully closed off. What it is that the CGS started the rollout with the mainstream banks, and there is a possibility that we will have more financial institutions coming in, and it is something that we at the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub certainly encourage, looking at the demographic that we are dealing with. Yes.
Madam Mumboy, care to add on that?
I just wanted to mention that the partners who are handling the CGS, that is the financial institutions, had to apply to Treasury so as to be for selection for those who would be partnering with the Treasury. And according to our understanding, the time we have engaged with the Treasury is that that was the first round. There are 7 actually financial institutions currently which are handling the CGS, but the Treasury will again ask for applications. And we have been trying to negotiate with the Treasury, if at all, they can also include like the women's, we have those circles, you know, we have even women's circles, and this is where most of the women may be operating. We are negotiating, but the fact is that they have to apply to be considered to handle the CGS. Yes.
Now that you've mentioned the circles, there's a conversation here. One of our viewers is asking then, can they also benefit from the CGS if they are in a group? Like, it's not just an individual. Do they also get to benefit from this credit scheme?
Yes, definitely. So the CGS is not closed off to, you know, single individual enterprises, but even in groups they can actually apply for the CGS, provided that they meet that criteria, that is set out. So the fact that they're in a group should not lock them out. They actually can apply, and the institutions will then vet them and see whether they meet the criteria. Yeah.
So now, as we walk up towards winding up this particular show today, someone who's watched this particular program and they want to know how they can participate in the ongoing event that is happening today, and also what they stand to benefit, what would you tell them, Dr. Let's start off with you.
Yes, we are having the event. It's online, and we are starting at 10:30 a.m. this morning. So in about 1.5 hours, we are going to be having the event. And they are very welcome to join us. I don't know how we can share the...
Kindly go ahead. This is a platform. At this point, that's where we know. We saw this lady on TV. Would want to know, how do I get more details? So you can share your website, maybe a contact where people can just log in and get to know what
yes,
to expect.
Our website is, we have our website on the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub. And they can certainly get details from there. And as I said, it will be online, so we will share the link. We will put it up on our website, and you know, they're very welcome to join and listen in. And this will be just one conversation we are having. We are planning more conversations with to make sure that information gets out there. Yes.
Now, talking about leveraging on technology owing to the COVID-19 disruptions, we've said this targets also mashinani, and we all know about, you know, the challenges there. How do you plan to go about that and reach that Wanjiko, that lady who has a bankable idea, has a business, has been struggling, and really wants to benefit from this scheme? Madam Momboy, let's start off with you.
I think that one, because of our working with the women's organizations, that might be the route that they might be able to access. But as it is today, you must be with the bank, because the credit guarantee, the Treasury is partnering with the banks. So, and obviously for you to benefit from a bank, you must be a member of that particular bank. And these, we know, are some of the hurdles that have been there for women, and particularly for Wajiko at the grassroots. And that is why we, as the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub, we have been trying to negotiate if maybe in the next round of selecting partners, the Treasury would take into consideration those institutions that are closer to the women. And what I mean by that is that we have even circles that are run by women, because we know women in this country had a lot of money, particularly through what has come to be referred to as stable banking. Yes. And majority of the women in Kenya, and I salute them, they are members of groups that are engaged in table banking. That is how women are feeding their families, they are educating their children, and they are developing their homes and their communities. And so it is our hope that when it comes to the next round, that the Treasury will be selecting partners. It is our hope that Treasury is going to select some of those circles that actually make resources accessible to women, because otherwise, with the major banks, we know that they can still be a barrier for women accessing. And so I think as we continue engaging with the Treasury and with the other stakeholders, we hope that there will be a way for Wajiko at the grassroots to be able to benefit from the credit guarantee scheme. Yes.
Imagine my chama down there, Mashinani, getting to benefit from the credit guarantee scheme. There's so much that we can do. Now, talking about that, that is something that is in the offing, the conversations that you as stakeholders are having with Treasury, you know, in the next rollout phase, as you talk next rollout phase. But now that we're here, today we're going to be having that online event. Other than that, what else have you lined up, you know, to just continue sensitizing the women, or rather your primary target at this point, to the availability of this particular initiative?
So we have a number actually of initiatives that that we're doing. We are working, I think, as Wamboi has said, with grassroots organizations and making that information available to them at the grassroots using the available means that we have right now. We are doing research on the CGS and how the terms can be improved and made favorable to women, having stakeholder conversations and policy advocacy events. We are also having conversations with Treasury on how do we bring this closer to women, how do we address the gender issues around the credit guarantee scheme. So we have a number of initiatives that are currently going on that are aimed actually at making the CGS more accessible to women. We also are looking at mentoring women entrepreneurs and working with them and actually building their capacities through various other initiatives. We have a number of projects that we are running at the Women's Economic Empowerment Hub. Aside from research, for example, we are starting a project on business incubation centers in order to build the capacity of these women. I think also we have leveraged the opportunity of working in an online space. And right now, you wouldn't believe, like just a few weeks ago, we had the Women Economic Forum in partnership again with Crown Trust, and a number of, even Treasury was represented. The attendance was amazing. I mean, at some point the site actually crashed. People, and this, we haven't seen that happening. So we are actually very excited. We are seeing that even in the Mashinani, women are joining on their mobile phones. They are able to get into these spaces. And also, therefore, through our website, we are sending messages to them about what is happening. So there's quite a lot that we are doing in addition to the research work, research and training that we offer at the university.
Now, for purposes of clarity, we've talked about, the CGS targeting women. And we've seen in other initiatives that women are lumped together with the youth. Is this predominantly only going to tackle, or rather target women, or do the youth also get to benefit? Is it a matter of gender or demographic?
So the CGS is actually, it's an open fund. It's actually a scheme that is not targeting any particular demography, but it is targeting the MSMEs. What we have done at the Women Economic Empowerment Hub is to look at ways in which it can be made more accessible to the category that we are concerned with, that is women. And we are particularly concerned about young women, the challenges that they face, because young women face the double burden of both gender and age. So sometimes they are not able to access some of these facilities. First, they are young, they are women, and then they are young. So for us, actually empowering young women is very critical to us, and we hope to see more of them coming in. And actually, they might fall in the category you were talking about, that they have a bankable idea. It is a great idea, but they have not started. How do we work with them? How do we empower them so that they actually get their businesses started? As I said, one of the projects we have is one on startups, that is business incubation, and they all work together. All the projects are working together to build capacities and empower entrepreneurs to be able to access facilities that are available. And right now, I think it's an exciting time because we see there's quite a lot that is happening. And so, for example, the CGS is just one. The economic stimulus package, the 8-point economic stimulus package, had a number of issues there that could be made more accessible.
Parting shot, Madam Wamboi, as it comes to a close.
Okay, my parting shot actually is to congratulate the women in this country, because although we have many challenges, and these are some of the challenges that is the hub, we are trying to see how we can address them, including the child care, which we have not mentioned, and which impedes many women from taking part in the labor force or in the economy, because they are the backbone. Despite the challenges, women are the backbone of the economy in this country, and it is our hope that What we are doing at the hub is also going to enable women at least just to make some progress towards women's economic empowerment, and we are able to contribute towards the poverty reduction because it is a concern for many of us, and we know that in Kenya poverty takes the face of a woman. We keep talking about the feminization of poverty, and that is why we have a major concern in women's economic empowerment, that we can transform this country and make our lives and that of our children better, because women are also the major ones who contribute to the sources of livelihood for their families and their communities. So we hope that we are able to transform the lives of the Kenyan citizens through the women.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Very well said. Those are the words of one of my guests this morning. That is Mary Wambui Kanyi, accompanied by Dr. Agnes Meroka. Women in business. Well, there's going to be an event at the University of Nairobi. You need to find your way there if you have a bankable idea, or if you have a business that has been struggling and you need to keep it afloat.